At 06:30, the bus dropped her off just outside the east gate of Fort Liberty. Overcast sky. February wind cutting through the trees. She stepped down with a small, olive-green briefcase and a stainless steel thermos. Her jacket was pressed, khakis tucked, shoes clean. She moved toward the security post without haste. The guards looked up, expecting someone. Not her. She was 5'3", maybe 4, hair pulled tight in a gray bun. Wire-frame glasses sat too low on her nose. She carried no rank, no command, just a clearance badge clipped to her collar. The MP scanned it, cleared her in. She thanked him. Quiet, almost inaudible. Inside, the base woke slowly. Trucks idling in the motor pool. Soldiers moving toward the mess hall. Shoulders hunched. A few stared. She didn't look like she belonged. Some assumed civilian contractor. Most didn't care. Her assignment came from the training division, classroom logistics, field medical prep, regulation briefings, PowerPoint decks, spreadsheets, first aid demonstrations with mannequins. Her arrival email had bounced around the lower ranks a week earlier. No one remembered her name, just her title. By 07:10, she stood in a converted storage room marked as Training Annex B, folding chairs, aligned, projector humming, a slide on screen titled Emergency Extraction Protocols. She tested every cable, calibrated the remote clicker, checked for backup batteries, adjusted the blinds to eliminate glare. The soldiers trickled in by 07:25, mostly infantry from Bravo Company. They sat slowly, spoke under their breath. She greeted each one. No reaction. Some nodded absently. Most ignored her. When the clock hit 07:30, she started. Her voice was level, even almost too soft. She didn't raise it, didn't repeat. One of the sergeants leaned forward to catch the words. Within 5 minutes, someone whispered the nickname, PowerPoint Lady. It stuck. By 08:00, they were using it openly in the hallway. Mess jokes followed. IEDs wouldn't dare explode until she approved the slide deck. Maybe she could bore the enemy to death. Laughter echoed after she passed. She said nothing, kept walking. She kept her routine exact. Arrived 30 minutes early, left after sunset. Replaced torn diagrams, rewrote SOPs, reorganized supply bins that were always out of order. She drank black coffee, no sugar, always from the same thermos. They noticed her only when she disrupted comfort. Woke them with a shoulder tap when they slept. Straightened their chairs when they slouched. Never scolded. Just adjusted. Quietly. She moved like someone used to space. Didn't linger in doorways. Didn't let anyone behind her. Always sat with eyes on the exits. Soldiers didn't see it. Or didn't care. On Thursday, she corrected a captain mid-brief about casualty triage flow. The correction was exact. Referenced a regulation most had never read. She cited page and paragraph. The captain nodded, unsure. She moved on. By the end of her first week, they still called her PowerPoint Lady, but they said it with less laughter. Not respect, not yet, but less noise. She wasn't there to be liked. She never looked for acknowledgement. Her eyes stayed on the work. Her hands adjusted cables, diagrams, binders. She listened more than she spoke. When she did speak, it was brief, necessary, then silence. The soldiers looked past her. That was fine. She watched everything, never missed a detail. She didn't fit. That much was true. She didn't plan to. She arrived before the sun. Every day. 05:45 sharp. Never needed a reminder. The training room was always clean by the time anyone else showed up. Chairs in perfect lines. Equipment checked. Laptop connected. thermos upright near the podium. She never asked for help. At 06:10, Private Carter came in early, caught her wiping smudges from the projector lens. He didn't speak, just nodded and walked on. Later, he told someone it was creepy, like watching a ghost rehearse. By 07:30, soldiers started trickling in. Today's module was Tactical Evac Protocols. She had 15 slides prepared, each diagram labeled, each sequence time-stamped. No one paid attention. A few watched their phones. Others whispered. She tapped the clicker, spoke evenly. Her tone never rose, just moved forward, line by line. A sergeant in the back yawned. McAllister leaned forward, elbows on knees, grinning. He didn't whisper. He wanted her to hear. Slide lady strikes again. Bet she alphabetized the bullets. Laughter rippled. Evelyn didn't pause, didn't blink, moved to the next slide. The timing stayed exact. At 08:20 class ended. She thanked them. Several walked out mid-sentence. One soldier left a coffee cup behind. She cleaned it up without a word. The next morning, her duties changed. She was no longer listed as primary instructor. They had her handing out water during drills, distribution duty, clipboard in hand, ice chest nearby. Soldiers walked past her, took bottles without eye contact. Some gave a lazy salute. Some didn't bother. McAllister stopped beside her on day 2. Make sure it's cold this time. Last one was room temp. He winked, took 2 bottles, and walked away. In the mess hall, they turned her into a running bit. They mimicked her voice, soft, breathy, clicked invisible remotes. Next slide, please. More laughter. She sat alone, ate slow. No reaction. Fork in right hand. Napkin folded on the tray. When she stood, her chair scraped softly. She always pushed it back in. The rumors spread faster than she walked. No deployment record. Civilian clearance. No unit patches. They said she got the job because someone owed her a favor. Or maybe HR misfiled a form. Some joked she wasn't real. A malfunctioning AI trainer sent by the Pentagon to cut costs. By the end of week 2, she had a new nickname. Ms. Slideshow. Even the support staff used it. Her response never changed. She showed up early, cleaned the room, ran every checklist, refilled every first aid pouch to spec, corrected typos in the SOPs no one else noticed, reset classroom clocks that ran 3 minutes fast. During field drills, she marked evac zones with chalk, took wind readings, measured casualty drag distances. When someone rolled their ankle, she stabilized it before the medic arrived, wrapped it tight, accurate, fast. No one thanked her. McAllister made a show of rolling his eyes. I'm sure she'll write a report about this. 3 pages minimum. She said nothing, walked away. He laughed, loud enough to be heard. Behind her, someone drew a caricature on the whiteboard, thick glasses, massive head, holding a pointer stick labeled Regulations. Underneath it read, Attack of the Slide Queen. She erased it. Quiet. No comments. Late that evening, a corporal walked past the annex. The lights were still on. Evelyn stood alone, adjusting seat positions, checking the projector alignment. She didn't notice him, or didn't care. By 21:10, she was gone. She never stayed past 21:15. She never arrived after 05:45. She was always exact. The ridicule didn't stop, but it changed. Less loud, more cautious. She never broke, never stumbled, never snapped. And something about that started to feel unnatural. A few noticed. Not many, but enough. The classroom echoed with metallic clinks, rifles laid out across tables, M4 carbines, bolts open, cleared, safeties engaged. The session was weapons familiarization, basic handling, grip, stance, Maintenance. Private Lasker stood near the back, young, jittery, grinning too much. He picked up the M4 like it was a toy, pointed it sideways while talking to another recruit. Finger on the trigger. The muzzle swept across two soldiers. One ducked instinctively. No one moved. Evelyn did. She crossed 15 feet in just over 2 seconds. No warning, no hesitation. She didn't shout, didn't ask. Her left hand clamped his wrist. Right hand guided the barrel down. The rifle angled hard into the floor. His stance broke. He stumbled. She didn't let go. Every eye turned. She spoke low, firm, muzzle discipline. Lasker blinked. Still half smiling, she stared at him, still holding the rifle, still holding his wrist. Her grip didn't shift. His arm couldn't move. Never point that weapon at anything you don't intend to destroy. Her tone didn't rise. No fury, just fact. Someone exhaled loudly. A bench squeaked as a corporal shifted. Reynolds saw it all from across the room. He didn't say a word. Just watched how Evelyn moved. No wasted steps. She used Lasker's blind spot. Approached from the edge of his field of view. Her feet silent. Arms exact. He'd seen that movement before. Not on bases. Not in classrooms. On patrol. In real terrain. Lasker nodded too quickly. She released his wrist. Stepped back. Resume. That was all she said. He didn't touch the rifle again. The rest of the session went silent. Clicks, slides, nothing more. She made her rounds, observed from behind shoulders, corrected grip angles with a touch, realigned stance with a nod. She didn't address Lasker again, didn't look back. Reynolds noted the position of her feet, slightly apart. Knees relaxed. She wasn't just watching. She was ready. At rest, but not idle. He checked her hands, calloused, but not like admin wear. Deeper, like pressure wear, from weight, from recoil. That night, he reviewed the surveillance footage from the training room. Base policy archived the feeds. He watched the approach frame by frame, saw how fast she reached Lasker, how smoothly she locked down his weapon. No hesitation, no panic, no learning curve. That's not training. That's memory. He paused the frame, zoomed in. Her face hadn't changed. No anger, no pride, just the job. He rewound again, played it forward. Slow. Then, real speed. Then, closed the laptop. Didn't sleep much after that. Reynolds wasn't looking for patterns. They just started showing up. At first, it was small things. She never sat in the center of the room. Always chose a chair near the wall. From that angle, she could see the door, the hallway beyond it. When she stood, she did so without pushing the chair back. Silent, smooth, like she'd practiced it. Instructors shuffled papers, yawned, swapped stories about deployments. Evelyn listened, never chimed in, but her head turned slightly every time the outer door opened. She didn't glance. She checked. During the equipment orientation, a private misidentified a tourniquet strap, called it a sling. The lead medic shrugged it off. Evelyn didn't. She corrected the term mid-step. No pause. Didn't reference a chart. Just spoke the regulation code and moved on. The correction was exact. Textbook perfect. Reynolds tracked her movements during lunch. She took the same table every day, back against the wall, fork in left hand, napkin folded, same corner facing up. She never turned her tray, ate with precision, nothing wasted, no motion unaccounted for. One morning, he arrived early, found her adjusting the thermostat, not guessing, calibrating. A degree too warm affected concentration. A degree too cold reduced hand dexterity. She didn't say that, but her placement matched optimal combat classroom settings he remembered from Kuwait. Dry, even airflow. cool surfaces. She carried no weapon. But Reynolds watched her eyes. They tracked people, not objects. Measured gait, not weight. He caught her glancing at boot soles, not just checking for mud. Pattern recognition. How people moved, where they slipped. She stored it away, never wrote anything down. On day 12, she passed a radio rack, paused. One unit had a missing antenna mount. She tapped the casing, said the model number was wrong for current frequency ranges. Nobody else noticed. He waited for her to mess up. Miss a step? She never did. After lights out, Reynolds accessed the training logs. Her credentials were valid. Background clean, education standard. Too clean, too standard. That bothered him. He pulled her security photo. Neutral expression. Eyes direct. No hint of discomfort under a military lens. No bureaucratic stiffness either. Just balance. He walked the base perimeter that night. Tried to shake the itch. Couldn't. By 0300 he was at the records terminal. He ran a deep scan. No deployments. No MOS history. No previous assignments at training command. But 3 internal references flagged redacted files, all tied to SOCOM. Access restricted. That was when he stopped thinking she was odd. She wasn't odd. She was deliberate. He shut down the terminal, walked to the training annex. The door was locked, lights off, but he knew she'd be there in 2 hours. First one in. She always was. Reynolds logged into the personnel database from the admin terminal near the comm center. Night shift. Lights low. Quiet. He entered her name. Shaw. Evelyn M. The file opened with a soft click. Education bachelor's in adult learning. Civilian certifications in logistics. Trauma training. Emergency response. Nothing flagged. No prior military service. No deployments. No awards. Too clean. He scrolled down. Under service history, one field was locked, not redacted, just blank, as if something had been there and was removed. Not uncommon. Sometimes admin files got rolled into centralized archives, but this one didn't sit right. At the bottom, a folder labeled Commendations flickered. He opened it. 3 entries. No dates, no locations, no citation text. Just generic headers. For service to unit under exceptional circumstances, with distinction during high-stress operations. Each one stamped JSOC, Joint Special Operations Command. He leaned back. He knew what SOCOM meant. And, more importantly, what didn't show when they were involved. Most people thought special ops came with glory. Reynolds knew better. The quiet ones. The real ones. They didn't have newspaper clippings or medals. They had empty files. He printed nothing. Closed the tab, wiped the access log, then started asking, not direct, just around. At 10:15 he ran into Sergeant Lucero in the med unit. Casual. Ever notice anything off about Shaw? Lucero raised an eyebrow. Thought for a second. She knew the spec sheet for the M3 field kit. The old one. From like 10 years back. Even corrected me when I packed one wrong. Nobody uses that layout anymore. Not unless you were hands-on with it. In the field, Reynolds nodded, said nothing. At 12:40, he caught Corporal Pike outside the range. Brought up radio security. You ever notice how Shaw references signal protocols? Pike grinned. Yeah. That was weird. She mentioned a fallback code during that jamming exercise. I asked where she got it. She said it was probably outdated. But it worked. I looked it up. I couldn't even access the page. Needs level 4 clearance. Reynolds didn't answer. Just scratched his neck. Walked off. That night, he pulled out his old notepad. The kind nobody used anymore. Paper. Pen. He made a list. M3 trauma specs, JSO comm tags, radio code access, reflex speed, observation skills, clean personnel file. He drew a box around the last line. One question circled everything. Why is she here? Training assignments didn't land like this. You didn't send ghosts into PowerPoint rooms unless someone needed them hidden or watching. He flipped the page, wrote nothing, closed the notepad, tucked it back into his locker. Shaw wasn't an instructor. Not really. He didn't know what she was. Yet, the classroom smelled like antiseptic and rubber. Dummies lined the tables, each one rigged for trauma simulation. Evelyn stood at the center, latex gloves. No clipboard today. No projector. She didn't speak much, just moved. The first demonstration was bleeding control. She located the brachial artery, applied pressure fast, shifted weight over the limb, her elbow locked, wrist aligned. Compression was clean, efficient, no hesitation. Next, she addressed the femoral artery. A tourniquet appeared in her hand, cinched, anchored, clocked under 12 seconds. She gave no warnings, just performed. The students watched in silence. One soldier, Haskins, leaned forward, squinting. "That isn't in the manual." She didn't respond. Moved to the airway section. Inserted a nasopharyngeal tube into the dummy. No angle correction needed. It slid in smooth. Then she transitioned to cricothyrotomy. Fast slice. Simulated insertion. She had a training tool, but used a pen casing. Showed the workaround like it was routine. The room shifted. No longer a class. It felt like a field tent. When she finished, she stepped back, peeled off her gloves, folded them into themselves, disposed with care. Private Monroe asked the question, "Where'd you learn all that?" Her hands paused mid-motion, glanced at the dummy. The silence stretched. "You learn it because you have to, because people die if you don't." She looked at him, then away. Sometimes they die anyway. No one spoke. Reynolds stood at the back, arms crossed. He'd seen plenty of training. This wasn't that. This was recall. Her hands didn't fumble, didn't search for memory. They just knew. That kind of precision doesn't come from classes. It comes from pressure, from noise, from screaming. Shaw gave no further explanation. Just cleaned the station, wiped down tools, reset the layout for the next session. Reynolds watched the others leave. No jokes, no whispers. They filed out like a funeral detail. He stayed a minute longer, watched her fold a gauze strip. Her fingers moved like she was tying something shut. He left without speaking. Just stepped out into the hallway. The sound of her movements followed him. Soft, precise, too exact to be learned from books, too calm to be rehearsed. She wasn't demonstrating. She was remembering. The sky was clear by 0900. Wind light. Flags along the shooting range barely moved. Good conditions. Fort Liberty's annual precision shooting event ran tight. Marksmanship, ballistics control, range estimation, scores logged, targets swapped every 20 minutes, line rotation every 45. Evelyn stood near the admin tent, clipboard in hand, fluorescent vest over her khaki coat. Not competing, just checking eye protection, ammo inventory, rest intervals. She walked the perimeter, asked no one for assistance, logged numbers, confirmed round counts, wrote initials. Beside checked scopes, Lieutenant McAllister leaned against the prep bench, barrel up, M4 sling wrapped. Half his platoon clustered around him. He'd landed clean at 600 meters. 5 of 6 shots inside the inner ring. Respectable. He smiled like he'd cleared a sniper cert. He spotted her. Said it loud enough for everyone. Bet she thinks windage is a spreadsheet column. Laughter rolled. Another soldier added one. Hope she remembered to file a form before touching brass. She kept walking, unbothered. Then McAllister stepped into her path. Raised his voice. You wanna teach something today? Ms. Slideshow. Maybe a lecture on how recoil affects PowerPoint animations. Snickers. A few turned to watch. She stopped, glanced at the range station, looked at the safety log on her clipboard. Range conditions need verification. Rifle zeroing must be confirmed prior to final flight stage. McAllister grinned. Sure. Be my guest. Just don't hurt yourself with the safety. He gestured to the bench. She walked past him, picked up the M110, clean barrel, fixed stock, Night Force scope already mounted, bolt locked, chamber empty. Her hands moved with confidence, not inspection, familiarity, checked bipod tension, scope levels, tightened cheek weld adjuster. No wasted steps. Crowd voices dropped, shuffling boots, muffled whispers. She settled into the prone position, jacket flat under elbows, right leg straight, left foot braced, deep breath, exhaled, dialed the elevation turret. Clicks counted silently. Wind gusted. She waited. No twitch, no comments, eyes downrange. Target was 800 meters, steel silhouette, standard first shot distance. She didn't announce. She fired. Metal rang. Spotter called it. Center hit. McAllister said nothing. Second target loaded. 900 meters. Playing card taped center. She adjusted windage. 3 clicks left. Fired again. The card split. Clean. No cheer. No noise. One more. Target at 1,000 meters. Bottle cap on post. She breathed once. Exhaled. Slow. Trigger squeeze. Muzzle popped. Recoil managed. No flinch. Through the scope. The cap vanished. Dust rose behind the post. Nothing left on it. She stood, brushed dirt from her sleeves, set the M110 down gently, logged her round count, did not speak. No one moved. Not yet. McAllister looked at her. No grin now. She returned to her clipboard, marked 2 items, moved down the line. Her voice, low. Next range begins at 10:45. All shooters rotate. That was it. She was already walking before anyone exhaled. She lay prone. Elbows set. Left knee out, right leg straight, toes dug in. The M110 rested firm on the bipod, cheek against stock, scope aligned, no breathing yet, just stillness. First target at 800 meters. Steel torso. Wind held steady. She adjusted for drop. Elevation dial clicked 3 times. Crosshairs settled. Trigger press. Recoil muted. Ping. Steel rang clear. Direct hit. No correction needed. All. She racked the bolt. Chambered the next round. Second target. 900 meters. Playing card taped to center of a silhouette. She blinked once. Wind drift. Slight left to right. 2 clicks windage. Exhale. Hold. Squeeze. The card split. Right down the vertical. 2 halves fluttered apart. Steel stayed untouched. Someone whispered behind the line. Then silence again. She loaded the 3rd round. Final target. 1,000 meters. Bottle cap balanced on a post, almost invisible through standard glass. But she saw it. Her breathing slowed. Every second stretched. Left hand steadied the forend. Right finger on the trigger. Scope read perfect. No twitch. No pause. She fired. The cap disintegrated. Gone. No trace. Post still upright. Dust lifted behind it. She rolled her shoulder. Eased the bolt open. Cleared the chamber. Rifle safe. Then stood. No words. No reaction from the line. Reynolds lowered his rangefinder. McAllister's mouth stayed closed. Shoulders tight. Jaw set. She stepped back from the firing lane, picked up her clipboard, made a mark. That was all. No cheering, no high fives, just the sound of wind and silence, the kind that comes after something final, something certain, the kind of silence earned. Rodriguez stood at the edge of the range, arms crossed, sun behind him, eyes fixed on Evelyn. She'd just set the M110 down, wiped the table clean, picked up her clipboard again like it was any other day. He didn't move at first, let the moment sit. Then he stepped forward, slow, measured. The others cleared a path. Some still watched the post at 1,000 meters, as if the cap might reappear. It didn't. Rodriguez stopped 10 feet from her, cleared his throat once, then spoke. 15 years ago, his voice carried, not loud, just steady. Northern Ridge, border zone, 3 clicks from extraction, hostile fire from 2 elevations, night, no comms. They'd lost 2 men already. One was dying in the back of a Humvee. Air evac denied. They were stuck. Evelyn didn't look up, still brushing sand from the edge of the shooting mat. Rodriguez kept going. Then it happened. 6 shots, each spaced 5 seconds apart. No echo, just the snap. One by one, hostiles dropped. Neat, precise, no misses. The field went quiet. Then the radio lit. Encrypted channel. Voice calm. Female. Shadow Viper. Area secure. Extract now. They never saw the shooter. Just shadows on the ridge. By the time they loaded out, there was nothing left but shell casings and silence. He looked at her. Really looked. He said the name. Shadow Viper. Nobody spoke. A bird crossed the sky above the range. Distant rotors pulsed somewhere to the west. Evelyn stood straight. No change in her face. No reaction. She placed the rifle back in its case, clicked the latches shut, wiped dust from the lid with the side of her hand. Rodriguez nodded once. Just once. I knew it, he said. Been wondering. But I knew. She didn't answer. Just turned toward the admin tent. Clipboard, tucked under one arm. Boots quiet on gravel. Rodriguez stayed in place. Reynolds stepped beside him. You sure Rodriguez kept his eyes forward? I've heard that voice exactly once in my life. And I never forgot it. She was already out of earshot. Still moving. The rest of the range stayed still. Even McAllister. No jokes now. Rodriguez finally exhaled. That woman saved my life. And 6 others. She never told us who she was. Never took credit. He shook his head. Now I know. He didn't smile. Just stood there, watching the quietest legend walk away. At 05:15, the projector flickered on in classroom C. The screen displayed a thermal map. Evelyn adjusted the focus. 1 click left, image cleared. She checked the room temperature. 68 degrees, optimal. She laid out printouts, each page aligned, no corners curled, dry marker uncapped. Bullet point 1 evacuation prioritization under fire. The first soldier entered at 05:47. Then more. By 06:00 the room was full. Everyone seated before she spoke. No roll call. No noise. She taught field trauma response that day. Arterial bleeds. Torso stabilization. Transport under indirect fire. No slide skipped. No wasted time. Her words were even. Cadence controlled. They took notes. All of them. At the end of the hour, one sniper candidate waited by the desk. Young. Still had a trace of civilian in his stance. He handed her something small. She looked at it. Then him. A coin. Black enamel. Crossed rifles. The words etched clean. Shadow Viper. She turned it in her fingers once. Nodded. Lesson continued. No one else mentioned it. But they saw. That week, 2 squad leaders changed their schedule to sit in her reg session. A logistics officer brought in new cadets early. Said they'd benefit from Shaw's walkthrough on supply convoys. No fanfare, no orders. Just showed up. In the mess hall, McAllister said nothing. But when she walked past, he moved his tray without being asked. She sat with her back to the wall. Same seat, same angle. Always watching. By Friday, 3 snipers requested independent training. They filled out the forms, all formal. But the request line was specific. Name given. Instructor preference E. Shaw. On the range. She corrected foot placement. Guided breathing with hand signals. Never raised her voice. They watched her. Not just the target. Her setup. Her trigger squeeze. The angle of her elbow. The silence between her words. She never spoke of what came before. No stories. No clarification. The coin stayed in her desk. Not hidden. Not displayed. Just there. Rodriguez passed her once outside the infirmary. Nodded. She nodded back. At 22:30, base lights dimmed. The walkways quieted. She stayed behind. Reset classroom chairs. Checked dry erase ink. Replaced batteries in the clicker. Routine. Simple. Her pace never changed. The myth was real now. But she walked the same path. Clipboard tucked tight. Movements exact. Not because of who she'd been, but because this was the work. At 06:05, she unlocked Classroom C. Lights clicked on. Same hum from the fluorescent tubes. Dust settled overnight. She wiped the projector lens. Everything as it had been, except for the sign. Above the whiteboard. Centered. Simple wood. Hand-carved letters. Burned in clean. The quieter you are, the louder your bullet speaks. She looked at it. Long enough to read. Not long enough to linger. She didn't touch it. Didn't ask who hung it. Didn't call it out. Just turned back to the podium. Checked the day's lesson. Regulation flow under battlefield disruption. Case studies from convoy hits in Kandahar and Diyala. She adjusted the slide order. Closed the laptop. Waited. By 06, 25 seats filled. No side talk. No fidgeting. Not even coffee cups on desks. Reynolds leaned in the back. Not there to monitor. Just listening. At 06:31, a new soldier entered. Younger. Probably week 2. His name not yet familiar. He hesitated at the door. Took the seat closest to the exit. She walked over. Set a manual in front of him. Thin booklet. Field logistics under fire. Told him to take notes. Then started. She spoke plainly. Showed a diagram. Supply disruption timeline. Displacement intervals. She asked a question. A hand raised. She nodded. They answered. She moved to the next slide. Nothing changed. No shift in tone. No emphasis added. Just the same cadence. Same posture. Same quiet voice. But they leaned in now. When she tapped the screen, heads turned. When she paused, the pause held. She outlined Case 3, a transport bottleneck outside Mosul, 1 route blown, 2nd route under watch, a 3rd no one planned for, routed through an abandoned irrigation line. 1 team made it out. She let the room sit in that moment, then continued. Outside. The flag lifted in slow wind. Trucks rolled past on gravel. The training room didn't feel different, but it was. Every word landed. Now. Every gesture carried weight. The new soldier scribbled notes quickly. His eyes didn't wander. He caught the pace. Matched it. At 07:15, the screen dimmed. She closed the manual. Returned to the desk. No applause. No thanks. The class filed out. In order. Quiet. She stayed behind. Checked chair alignment. Straightened cords. Logged attendance. Standard closeout. She walked out at 07:33. The room stayed still, and the sign remained. No spotlight. No plaque beneath it. Just the sentence. The quieter you are, the louder your bullet speaks. Nothing more. Nothing needed.